Trek Chatters, I'm Pit Trekkie, and welcome to another episode of Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. So for today's episode, I'm going to be discussing the recent article that Entertainment Weekly had let out with an interview with a producer of the new Star Trek cartoon series that's slated to come out onto CBS All Access, Star Trek Lower Decks. So this is really the first news of the series that we've gotten since San Diego Comic-Con last July. Now, I was at Star Trek Las Vegas last year, and they did have a panel on it, but it was pretty much the same information. So really, for the first time, we're getting some new information. They also released these two new photos. The first one on the top is a couple of the new ensigns that are going to be on the show, surrounded by the senior crew. It looks like they're having some sort of fight on board the ship. And then the other one is a picture, I guess, in crew quarters of the four main ensign characters for this show. So really, what is known about Star Trek Lower Decks so far? Well, first of all, we know it's going to be Star Trek's first half-hour sitcom. So that's a little interesting. I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out, because Star Trek's never been a sitcom before. It's had comical episodes, but it's never been an actual comedy itself. It takes place aboard the California-class USS Cerritos, focusing on the, quote, lower decks, which I guess would mean the lower-level members of the crew. And it's also listed as one of Starfleet's least important ships. I never really liked that since they even announced this show. To me, in Starfleet, there are no ships that are the least important. They would all have a role and a function. But we'll see how that all plays out. We also know it takes place in the Next Generation era, shortly after Star Trek Nemesis. It's approximately the year 2380. The focus is on four different ensigns. There's Ensign Mariner, Ensign Tendi, Ensign Rutherford, and Ensign Boimler. And the episodes will focus on second contact missions. So we already know the first contact is when the Federation makes first actual contact with a new species that they're interested in. So I guess this second contact will be how other Starfleet officers, I guess, interact with this new species that they've just allowed themselves to be made aware of. So we have four main cast of characters that are pretty much known, the four ensigns. We have Ensign Mariner, who is a human female. She's going to be voiced by Tawny Newsome. We have an Orion female. I think out of all the characters, this is the one I'm most interested in. Her name's Ensign Tendi, and she's going to be voiced by Noelle Wells. We have Ensign Rutherford, who to me looks like a human cyborg mix. I wouldn't say he's Borg. He might have Borg technology in him, who knows. But he's got some sort of thing over his head that's covering his left eye. It looks like it's integrated into his body. So he'll be interesting to try to figure out. He's being voiced by Eugene Cordero. And then we have a human male. I guess if you want to have the geeky or the lanky one, this one's another one that's kind of piqued my interest. But his name's Ensign Boimler, and he's going to be voiced by Jack Quaid. The show also does have secondary characters, senior officers. Some of the ones that I really saw, and they're in the pictures that I just displayed. Captain Freeman is a human female. She's going to be voiced by Dawn Lewis. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, Dawn Lewis actually was the actress who played Jaleesa in the NBC sitcom A Different World back in the 80s and 90s. We also have a Bajoran male, who from this picture we see here is all built, and he had ripped his shirt for some reason. But his name, I believe, is Lieutenant Shax, I guess the way it's pronounced. And this gentleman is being voiced by Fred, and I don't know if I'm going to get this last name right. Tatasciore? Tatasciore. That's just one I can't pronounce, but he's going to be voicing that character. And then we have a female Cadian, just like Lieutenant Maress in the animated Star Trek series from the 70s. This is a doctor, Dr. Tana, who will be voiced by Gillian Vigman. So basically, also, we know the show is primarily going to focus on these four ensigns mixed with the senior crew. So we'll probably see a lot of them doing repair work, maybe running reports, getting orders barked at them by other senior officers. So we're kind of going to be seeing the senior officers through their point of view, instead of just seeing the senior officers through the senior officers' point of view and having them be our heroes. We're kind of going to see the behind the scenes, kind of like the episode Lower Decks in The Next Generation, which I'm sure this was named off of, and also the 6th season episode of Voyager, Good Shepherd. So in the article by Entertainment Weekly, Mike McMahon, the showrunner, got interviewed, and here's the first part of his interview. He says, the big stories are happening in the bridge crew, and there's more kind of social emotional stories happening to the lower deckers. So it's like their job and the world they're in get affected by these sci-fi stories. But the funny thing too is that whatever menial job you have to do in Star Trek, it might be something they do every day. But it's still sort of a fascinating look into stuff that happens on board that haven't been highlighted in another series. So instead of being on the turbo lift, the elevators in Trek, our guys are repairing the turbo lift. We also spend a lot of time in the bar. You'll also see the lower deckers go on away missions, doing things that the bridge crew doesn't have to deal with. Okay, that'll be pretty interesting. So they'll probably be going to get the soil samples or the seeds of the different fruits and vegetables for food on board the ship. Who knows? Just a whole bunch of little menial tasks. He also talked a little bit about, since it does take place in the Next Generation era, shortly after Nemesis, there was some talk about possible TNG character cameos. This is what he said. He said, there are a lot of recognizable characters in the galaxy at that point. Next Generation is my favorite era, and as a huge Star Trek fan, I would definitely want to try to use some of them so that I could not only build out the world, but also work with some of my heroes. But I can't get more specific than that. You'll have to wait and see. So in other words, it sounds like they're going to have some surprise cameos for us, which is great. I think that that's awesome. So here are what my thoughts are on Star Trek Lower Decks right now. I am definitely, what I would say is cautiously optimistic. I'm looking forward to the show. The part that scares me is it's going to be a half-hour comedy. I mean, it might actually work, and I'm not knocking the show. I'm just nervous to see how that's going to play out. Is it going to be done in a proper manner? Is it going to be kind of thoughtful? Or is it going to be some rude, crude kind of humor that's in a lot of today's cartoons? And I don't want to see that with Star Trek. I know with the animated series there were some silly episodes in places, but a lot of the episodes had a lot of meaning into them too. And were kind of advanced for young kids. And I think that's why they still endure to this day, why we love them even though they're animated. So I'm really hoping that they can balance the humor but have some sort of message and some sort of meanings in each one of these shows. I mean, showing the lower deck characters, you can really show from that point of view what these people go through on a day-to-day basis. And I'm talking the lower deck people on any kind of job. Or any kind of ship. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the show. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed and praying that it's going to go well. I don't want some goofy, crappy show. So overall, the conclusion, so we are looking at possible TNG cameos coming in this show. We're looking at some more humor that's going to be based in the show. The episodes aren't going to be as long, so they're going to have to kind of cram in story as much as they possibly can. We know that there are going to be 2 seasons of the show that have been CBS All Access is committed to. So that's pretty exciting. We're having just the fact that we're having another addition to the Star Trek universe. Just hoping that they do it right and it goes off very, very well. So overall, I'm looking forward to the show. So those are just some basic thoughts about the most recent news about Star Trek Lower Decks. Hopefully we'll get a date when it's going to be released coming up here soon. Is it going to be coming out next on CBS All Access, or is it going to come out after the 3rd season of Discovery? So let me know what your thoughts are. What are your thoughts about this new animated series and what its contribution is going to be into the Star Trek universe? Please comment below in the comments section. Please subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have more people come on board. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you can get notifications of when there are new episodes. Obviously, type in on youtube.com, type in Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. It'll take you directly to my channel. You can also follow the show on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. You can also follow the show on Twitter at PGH Trek Chat. I'm looking forward to the next episode. Until then, may yins live long and prosper.